First of all, namaskar to everybody. This book is about the offshore geotechnical engineering. I would say this is a reference guide for all the geotechnical engineers who want to pursue offshore engineering. And also, this is a practical guide for all the practicing engineers who are currently in the business of oil and gas industry, particularly the offshore. So, this book covers the experience that we have earned in our profession for the last 18 years working in the respective geographies. Particularly, I have chosen about five geographies. It's India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Abu Dhabi, and Saudi. So, in all the geographies, we have faced some kind of challenges and we have tried to provide solutions to overcome the challenges. So, I would say, in nutshell, this is a practical reference guide on offshore geotechnical engineering. Fantastic question. See, the geotechnical engineering for offshore domain has emerged from the philosophy and the basic principles from the onshore geotechnical engineering. But then there are so much of complication in the offshore geotechnical engineering. It is not only the stratigraphical complications, but also the environmental conditions are significantly different than what we encounter in the onshore geotechnical engineering. So, to say so, the challenges that we face in offshore is extremely critical and important. It's orthogonally different than the challenges we face onshore. And thereby, the experience that we have, I think it has more value when we share the information to people. There can be an experiential learning for the next generation engineers. And we felt that it's more valuable and we wanted to share that in form of a book that can give an accelerated learning for all the leaders. So this book, as I said, is a reference guide. So any geotechnical engineer can read this book. And of course, this book is also useful for students who are very curious about what's there in offshore geotechnical engineering. This book also will be a practical guide for professionals working in the offshore oil and gas industry, particularly the project managers, the designers, the structural engineers, as well as the procurement people. Okay, because this gives you an identification of the hazards, which is very, very important for offshore projects, what kind of challenges and problems that you can face and how you can overcome these challenges. So depends on what background you have. Probably everybody can have the informations that can be beneficial for their own fields. So it's curiosity, particularly offshore is very challenging. When you are working, a lot of geohazards are identified, and the stratigraphy itself is varying from one geography to another geography. So I'll give my own example. When I worked in Southeast Asia for the first time on offshore geotechnical domain, the procedures and process were really set and fixed. So you were tuned to adapt those procedures and processes for overcoming the challenge for foundations. But when we had an opportunity to work in India, the stratigraphies are totally different. So you end up having a new set of challenge, and the philosophies that you are already experienced with is not going to help you. You have to adopt a different philosophies. And the same thing I personally faced when I actually worked in Middle East projects. The stratigraphy again is orthogonally different than the Southeast Asian stratigraphies. So we have a lot of cemented layers, the carbonate materials. So its behavior under loading is totally different than the Southeast Asian stratigraphy. And therefore, with these stages, I have undergone a lot of challenges to learn from experienced people, professionals, the industry experts, and who already have some similar kind of experience. Then I felt that when we put all the information together in a form of a book, this will help people to navigate. That means you maneuver the challenges. It's a metaphor word, so that you can get the solution very easily because you already have the projects that have been successfully executed, and the same thing has been presented in the book. The first thing is I have explained the basic survey requirement, what needs to be done for any project. And the second part is I have identified the stratigraphies based on our own experience, what kind of stratigraphy is present in which geography. So and this is an invaluable information Perhaps when I was an young professional 25 years before, I didn't get an opportunity to go through this information. But now, since we have the information, I thought to share it to all the readers. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is the challenges that each of the professionals is going to face, in particularly the offshore engineering. So about 15 case studies has been presented, and each of those case studies is unique by itself. So the experience from these case studies will help you to overcome in case you encounter in your own projects, and that's the reference guide. I already said those things. And finally, in the book, the technical knowledge and domain expertise is very, very critical. But in addition, for anybody to be successful, you also have to exhibit leadership to personality development. So I have just given a very short chapter at the end of the book as a prelude to my next book, which will be on ultimate personality developments. So enjoy the book, give me some feedback. I'll be very happy to hear from you. There's no set pattern to read the book, so I advise that you can go through the first chapter, which describes the basic survey requirement for any geotechnical projects, particularly the oil and gas industry. And thereafter, you can jump into any chapters which describes the respective geographies. And those case studies in those respective geographies are the projects that has been executed pertaining to those geographies and the stratigraphy. So after first chapter, you feel free to go and read any chapter that you prefer, and there's no set procedures that you wanted to adopt for reading this book. Again, it's a very good question. So once any one of you read this book, perhaps reflect, do you have a project of similar kind? The first thing that you should look up on, do you have the basic information and enough information to design and install your projects or construct your projects? Second, in your project, does it resemble any of the case studies that has been presented? Third, if does so, then can you just look at each of the case studies where certain types of challenges has been presented? Is that challenge already covered in your project? If not, please anticipate that and you could include that in your decision making process. That may help you to overcome certain challenges, if not now, at least during the course of the project itself. So first of all, I'm a passionate geotechnical engineer, and before that, I'm a proud civil engineer. So the last 2.5 decades of my experience in offshore geotechnical engineering, I developed by being a practical man. So I am a field man, and also at the office at the laboratory level, I'm an experimentalist. So I always have hands-on working on soils and rocks, and I encourage everybody to be hands-on, be it in the lab or you go to the site, to have the first-hand information, which is going to be the best information. So feel for the soil and rock and get the first-hand information. From there, I thought the best way to contribute to the profession is to put everything in a form of a article, maybe a book, and also share your experience where the next generation people can have an accelerated way of learning. So from being an engineer, now it's an author. Probably I'm also looking to have many more such occasions where I can present more of my learnings. Yeah, I'm very active in LinkedIn and Facebook. People can reach out to my corporate email as well. So I encourage everybody to read this book, and also I encourage, please give your feedback, so that will help me to cultivate or maybe design my further writings in my next books. And even for this also, if there are any feedback from you, I always happy to receive those feedbacks. Please give the feedback through these channels.